What's up, pal?
What's up, guys?
Doing well. How you doing? Marcus, how are you?
What's up?
Hey, I'm going to do my little intro. Hey, everybody, it's TQ and my brother JQ.
What up?
Uh, Welcome to Tea Time at the Apothecary. We're talking to you live. I'm in Lincoln Square here at Merz Apothecary. We do this a couple times a week. We have tea. We interview amazing guests. And today is definitely one of those days where we get to interview someone awesome. Our good friend, artist, musician, just all around cool business dude, someone I love talking to, Marques Carroll. Welcome, Marcus.
What's up, guys? I apologize. I jumped in soon. I was like trying to do some work, and then I heard your voice. I was like, all right, let me jump on before I'm late.
Oh no, I we're all busy people.
That's what this is about. Just taking a little minute in the middle of a busy day.
Oh, I need it, man. I need it.
Yeah.
Tell us
Hey,
what you've been up to.
first of all, what are you drinking in your mug there? It's a nice mug you have.
I love this mug actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I am drinking. It's a mix. It's a detox tea with also a ginger, like peppermint mix with
Nice.
a lemon. So it's funny. I've been drinking more tea and like tart cherry juice a lot because
You got the
uh,
gout?
I get these flare ups, man, now. So I'm like literally having to. I've changed up my diet. I told you guys the other day I quit drinking, and I just for health reasons, man. I'm getting older, and my body doesn't bounce back the same way, man. So just trying to do my thing, man.
Yeah, I think where you and I are close to the same age. You're a little younger than me, I think, but uh, we are getting older. We got to take care of ourselves. I wanna feel good for a long time, not just like I don't want this to be the corner that we're turning, right?
Right, and that's man, that's just what it boils down to. It's funny. I talked with Jay was it a couple of years ago, man. I was going through some health issues, and he hit me with the Dr. Grundy book, man.
Yeah,
Like,
Gundry, yeah,
and it just uh, I don't want to say it changed my life because I tried some of it and I stuck with it for a while, and then consistency is key. It's so hard for me. Then I got into from that though it catapulted me into I went vegetarian for almost a year. I hit the gym, went through some injuries because I didn't know what I was doing, trial and error. I'm a meathead, so I'm like, oh, I can lift this much weight.
yeah,
My body's 42 now, and it's like, no, you can't. you know.
yeah, yeah.
Ended up pulling. I had three herniated discs this year, so I ended up literally having to make a decision to go with the chiropractor or the orthopedic surgeon, and I'm happy that I allowed myself not to be a skeptic of the chiro, because I
Yeah,
was,
good.
and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I'm walking better, I'm running again, I'm exercising, and I have complete kind of control of knowing my body when those flare-ups are about to happen and what I need to do to kind of maintain it without having to go through surgery. So, you
Yeah,
know,
it's great.
yeah,
It's good.
Um,
Yeah, you want to keep that as a last resort, right?
very much so, man. My mom went through surgery and she's still not. I mean, she's okay, but I'm like, I'm happy I did the chiro. I still go 1 day a week and I get a massage. So,
yeah. No, that's awesome. I think back pain and back issues are one of those things that, uh, in my experience, it's so tempting to sort of look at, oh, they did an MRI or they did a scan or an X-ray, and they showed me that I have this bulging disc. But like what is never said is that for the past 10 years, when you didn't have that, did you have the scan to show you that you didn't have the bulging disc? And like, that I think from what I read, a lot of back doctors and pain doctors is that essentially like if you took just a cross section of people, healthy, no pain, pain, you wouldn't, no doctor would be able to look and say, these are the people who have pain and issues, and these are the people who don't, because everyone's back has issues or curves or whatever. So
Mhm.
clearly that's not the triggering effect, which is an argument for what you're saying. It's like, go figure out what your body needs, not go in there with a knife or a laser or whatever it might be.
Yeah, man. It was funny. The ortho was like, and you got to understand, man. I got to the point. This was right when COVID hit. I teach, and we were sent home. And right when I got home, I'm not going to use profanity here, so I'll just say my silly self literally tried to carry a Fender Rhodes keyboard just down a couple of stairs to get into the house. And right when I got done, my back gave out and I was in wincing pain and shot down the sciatic nerve, the whole thing, to the point of I was on a cane, man. I was like, could not walk.
You were looking pretty pimping, though, I gotta say.
Well, come on, man. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it with the right cane. But even still,
I saw you. We had book club. And this dude was laying in bed. He had a whiskey and he had his cane, and he was like, "You were playing the part.
You just
You
had
were
a
playing
hat.
the part."
if I'm gonna go out, man, I'm gonna go out in style. You know, you don't have to suffer like that. But it was cool, man, because what I did was when I went to Cairo first, but when I went to see the ortho, he was like, "Man, we're gonna do 6 weeks of PT." I'm like, "Bro, I can't bend over. There's no way in hell I'm gonna do physical therapy. It's just not gonna happen." And
Yeah.
I'm glad I made that decision because the Cairo that I do see, Dr. Eba down at I think it's Cairo Fitness right off of Peoria in Washington. Great
Mhm.
place. I'm doing a plug. Go see them if you need some help because
Cool.
that team over there has gotten me back to almost better than what I was before. And they're
Great.
knowledgeable and they actually show you on your X-rays what's been happening over the years, and you can just I when I saw that I was like, okay, I need to get my core together, the whole thing. So from a health standpoint, I feel way better, and I'm glad I didn't go through the let's cut my back open, be laid up even more kind of crap.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad too. And so, like you do so many things that I know we're gonna have no shortage of things to talk about. But I wanna nerd out for a second because I have been a jazz head since I was probably a teenager. I used to listen. It started when actually I was a little kid. The place where my mom went to get her haircuts, and then thus we did as well. They played like the Chicago used to have a big band station, so it started out with big band music. And as a kid, like that wasn't what I liked. But then I found myself getting into like, all right, Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington, like all the classic big
Count
band.
Basie.
What's that? Count Basie, yeah. And so that's what I was driving toward is like, you have a connection with that, which is, and you obviously there's so much more you do, but nerd, give my jazz nerd side a little thrill.
Yeah,
Right?
there's what do you want to know, man? I've been just to give some people some information. I grew up in St. Louis. I grew up in a very musical family. My mom's mom was a cabaret singer who used to hang out and open up with Red Fox and Richard Pryor and all those folks. So she has that side of the entertainment industry, and I can go into more detail. Like one of her boyfriends or never really married, but his name was Mojo, and this cat he actually worked for the mafia, man, laundering money from L.A. to Vegas, kind of thing. Wow, I mean, this is like stuff I find out. I'm like, that's kind of cool. My dad's parents, man, my grandmother was she was a school teacher, also a great singer. She was close to being an opera singer. That's what she wanted to do. My grandfather was a singer, played piano, but also trumpet, and he was really close friends with Clark Terry in St. Louis. He was also Clark Terry is part of this organization called the Tom Powell Post, and that organization was a drum and bugle corps that basically served the black community. It was an all black drum and bugle corps. Those were like heavy in the day, still are corps marching, but like it was an all black band that like would my granddad wrote music for it. They would go out to these competitions and knowingly win, but lose because of the whole racial issue that still is plagued today. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of dope hearing some. I've got these reel to reels. I get to hear some of his playing. I'm just like, this is crazy.
Wow.
I started playing trumpet at 8, and it was something I was playing baseball at the time, which I was really good at. I'm anything that requires discipline over and over again, and that's my mind is set to that. So I'm really good at bowling. I'm decent at golf. I was good at sports, but the trumpet was like something that was the outlet that I needed at that time family going through a divorce, the whole thing. It was like the thing that kept me kind of grounded
Okay.
through a lot of stuff. But I grew up with young parents. My dad was 20, my mom was 16. So I grew up listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, all the stuff that they listened to, and then my grandparents listened to. That's what I was accustomed
Ah,
to. So Clark Terry was in my wheelhouse. I met Wynton Marsalis, and I've grown a relationship with him over the years. Um, and jazz music, which we call, at least what I call today, Black American music. I kind of stay away from the term jazz for many reasons, but that music itself, man, is what drove me to my career path. And there's little other things that I do in my career, but music was the thing. To you allude to the Basie band, so we can fast forward from 8 to age. I think I joined the band about 4 or 5 years ago, actually. So, um, that's a long, 30 some years of playing and practicing and gigs and moving up in the ladder or
yeah.
whatever it is. I got a call. I knew the band. I knew a lot of people in that band, and I was never like, man, I'm going to play with the Basie band one day. I always want to play with the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, which is Wynton Marsalis's big band.
Yeah.
It's the lasting members of the Duke Ellington band. Those former that beginning band was the lasting members of that band. So I always wanted to get in the group. But I got, made these connections with the Basie band folks, man. And there was always talk that, hey, man, we'll get you on a gig or we'll get you on this recording. And when you hear that kind of stuff in any type of business, man, just keep doing your thing because it's a lot of people talk, and I think that's in every
Yeah.
facet of life, right? So I wasn't like, oh God, I'm gonna drop everything to go. No, it's not gonna be that way. So I just forged along doing my own thing, and I finally got a call, in December from the band leader, and I was going through a lip problem on top of it. I couldn't play, and he was like, hey, we love to have you. We're going to go on tour in February. We're going to be going into Japan for a couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. And I was like, I was excited about it, but I was also going through this crisis of, do I want to keep playing trumpet? Because this was like my third or fourth lip injury. I literally had pulled this muscle up here, so I couldn't form an embouchure to play. And I was on the phone crying with my dad. I was like, man, I can't do this no more. I'm tired. This is not what I want to do. And that basic call rejuvenated the hell out of me, man. I was practicing 15 minutes a day just to get form back for the first 2 weeks. By February, I was decent to my standards, and then I got my plane ticket. I hopped on. I flew. I was nervous as hell, man. There's no getting around it. There's no getting around. You get a call, and no matter how good you are, you still have anxiety. And my first tour, we went to Nagoya, the Blue Note, and I'm sitting there with the rest of the cats, man. It's like all these old dudes. It's a mixed bag of folks, but it's like all old dudes. And I'm like, and you hear them practicing, and they're disgruntled, and the vibe was definitely not what I had thought it was going to be, you know. But they were really cool. I made some mistakes as you should. I learned from those mistakes. And I played my butt off, man. We ended up taking the bullet train from Nagoya up to Tokyo, and I had never been to Japan. I was just like, man, this is dope, Like I just fell in love with that. But the music, the band, man, was like smoking. It just played. It was like take the best car that you would, the most expensive or the baddest car you would ever drive. It was like this, like sitting in that car and cruising down the highway. That's how
uh,
how smooth that band played.
What's
I
And
it?
got to see
What's
the
it
Basie
like?
Band in New York in the 90s. And it was, for me coming up and like learning about that music and then moving to New York and being like, this is a continuation of this band that I've read about, that I've listened to, and then go get to see them play. Like I walked over 5 blocks from my house, from my apartment in New York, and was like, there's, such a joyous moment for me to feel
mhm.
like there's still this music to discover and experience live, because sometimes it can feel like it's historical. And that's kind of one of the things I'm excited about with you, is that, and having you on, is that it's not just history, it's living.
It is. Yeah. So man, it's funny. Let me fast forward because I know we pressed for time. But it's funny. I been in that band after I did that tour. I came home, and I was just like, man, I had a great time, and I left it at that. And then I got a call a week later from my buddy. He said, "Listen, Scotty Barnhart, who's the band leader, musical director, is going to give you a call because the fourth chair is open, and I think he's going to give it to you." And I was like, "Yeah, right, okay." So I'm going about my business. I'm doing my thing, and then I get the call. He's like, "Hey, man, love to have you on the band. Da, 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 da. We'd love to offer you." I was like, "Yep, taking it."
I'm
and,
in. Let me think
and
about that
yeah,
in.
and it was so cool because when I jumped in, and a lot of those guys, there's guys been Clarence Banks, great trombone player, been there. He was one of the last found members that Basie hired himself.
Wow.
Doug Lawrence, great tenor player, has been there for years. Like longevity, man. So there's some guys in there that I just gravitated to a lot. There was the lead alto player, one of the guys who took over. I remember meeting him when I was a kid when he played with Clark Terry. And I was like, "Do you remember me?" He's like, "No, man." I was like, "Dude, I met you when I was like 11, 12 years old." He's like, "Hey." And so it was cool to when to first time take a solo in front of that band, you come down and to hear him in the back of my head saying, "Go ahead, take your time, man." Like, because there'd be times where I'd be anxious and I would hear him speaking as I'm playing. Like that kind of stuff. I learned a lot from those guys in that sense, man. And then that sparked literally. I played with the band for 3 years. I don't, so I'm considered on the sub list, and because I took a full time my job that I teach on the west side of Chicago, I went full time. So there was no me going on the road anymore the way we were because I was out on the road every couple of months for like 2 weeks at a time. And I'll tell you, man, being in that band, I had already traveled the world, I think pretty much. I've been in about 35 countries, maybe a little bit more. And with them, though, I got to see places I didn't think I was going to. Like I got to sing like Louis Armstrong and play in the Sydney Opera House. Like I've never, and
Wow.
that's something I thought about doing was like at least playing in the opera house, but I finally got to. We toured through New Zealand and Australia for a week. I've been to Moscow. I went to Russia. Never thought I'd go there, man. All
That's
over
so
through
cool.
Europe. Just places I didn't think I would end up at. I got a chance to go play with some really high end folks, which stepped my game up, and I learned a lot being in there. I also learned that I didn't like touring all as much as I thought I did. Like, it can be, hey, we're flying in, we're going straight to the venue, we get some rest, we get back on the bus. It's
It's
like,
grueling.
I was like, this sucks.
I
you
got a
know,
question sort of
yeah.
like about playing the type of music that you feel like, oh, I've been playing this music for 30 some years, and you walk into a place and you feel like you got some history behind you and some knowledge and wisdom, and you're and they look at you like you're a baby, you know?
And the funny thing is, man, the drummer, my buddy Robert Boone, Robert's 27 now. He had joined the band when he was like 25 or something like that, man. Almost, and he's good, he's killing drummer. But I'm like, we were the kind of the little young pups. My other buddy, Chris Johnson, he was a young pup in there. Everybody else, it, it's you what's funny is you study this music. You were talking about how the history of it. I've studied this music for a long time. I have 2 degrees in jazz studies, whatever that means, right? But I study this music because I think it's important to American history. It's who we are as Americans. This music, without this music, we actually don't have the culture that we do have today.
Yeah,
And
100%.
the new jazz music that's being made, the stuff that I'm making, my original music, other folks, I think it used to be what they call popular music, and I still believe it's popular music because we're taking music that influences us as artists, and we integrate that into the tradition. I believe that the tradition needs to be upheld because if we don't, we kind of lose who we are. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's basically storytelling. It's being able to tell your history of your families from generation to generation to generation. And without folks studying the music of Duke Ellington and Count Basie and Lionel Hampton, and I'm not a Benny Goodman fan and a Glenn Miller fan, but I know there's people out there that love them, and they're part of this history as well. So it's important to know it and
That
to
was
be
an entree for me to get to the things that I really love. It was
well.
just
That's
my door
no.
in.
My Chet Baker was my door in too, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like all you need is that little. that little piece that gets your mind saying, what is
Yeah.
this? And what else is there to this? And I'm curious like that. So for me, I'm always going to continue working on that music. If I get a call from the band again, I think I played with them this last February actually before we all went into COVID. I enjoy getting those times to play with those folks. Just from the musical standpoint, all the I'm gonna tell you, man, and you and Jay. I mean, you've been around. You're famous yourself. You get what I'm saying? Like, you get around people and you realize that they're just regular folk. So like the stardom stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm done with all that. I'm here to experience this music and just the overall living experience. That to me was the most important because when I'm backstage and I see like, I hung out with Bruce Willis, Danny Glover, and who it was like Key from Key and Peele or something like that. And and I'm just like,
Where am I?
where?
What's funny for me is like, so making hip hop is a very, it's like, it's the same thing, but it's the opposite, It's like, I feel like youthful and ready to go, and they look at me like, "What's up, old man?"
Right, right,
Like,
right.
like you can be in your 30s doing hip hop, and they're like, "Oh, grandpa's gonna start rapping, huh?" And then you could be in your 40s playing jazz, and they're like, "Oh, look at this young pup on the scene."
That what's funny? It's and you're not lying, man. It's like there's still this piece of elder, even if this is a word, eldership,
Yeah.
elder statesmen and women of the music. In our, at least in this genre of music, man, we lost a lot of older mentors. Ellis Marcellus passed this past year. We lost Jimmy Heath. Um, Chick Corea, no, Chick Corea is still around. Who else did we lose? Claudia Roditi. I mean, just you name it, man. Lee Konitz passed this year. There's been so many losses on the musical sense of this music that it's forcing a lot of folks in my age bracket and just a little bit older than me, like the Wintons and Christian McBride and a couple other folks, to kind of be the I would call them the elder statesmen, Nicholas Payton, the folks that are kind of not only putting out high end art, but holding a very high torch for the level that we need to continue to aspire to be as artists and responsible to the music. Young musicians, and when I say young, I'm talking about all these kids that go to college for music, and they come out and they're like, "Where's my job?" And it's like nobody cares. I mean, honestly, like it's not when you make art, you do it because you love to do it. If you can figure out a way to capitalize that financially on it, then that's a plus. But and it took me a long time to get to that space because I went to school with the idea of, as I work on, I do a little life
Gotta
coaching.
make it, right?
Yeah, dude, you should see my vision board from when I was young to now. And my vision board when I was young was like, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna travel, I'm gonna make this money, chicks, the whole thing. And then when I look at it, I was like, man, I've accomplished a lot of stuff, but like my views have changed, my priorities have changed.
Well, that's a
You
good
matured,
segue.
man. You matured.
That's also
Yeah,
good. That's also a good segue into. Can you kind of discuss a little bit about the sort of mentorship that you do, especially for young brothers in the city? I would
yeah,
love to hear a
man.
little and share a little bit about that.
Man, I'm looking to man, this is a tough one because I get real frustrated, and I think the frustration is what's driving me. So I worked. What I didn't know is I was going to go into education. My grandfather always harped on me. I can hear his voice. You need to get an education degree. You need to get an education degree. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to be famous jazz trumpet player, man. Get off my back. I never said that to him because he would have killed me. But inside, that's what I was thinking. And what I found, man, is over the years, I got really great at education. I got great at understanding how to reach young people. I'm good at keeping it real with young people and allowing them the space to be real with me, which is not what a lot of teachers and parents don't do with their young teens, which I enjoy. So I taught at New Trier High School for 16 years, which is a whole nother gambit of teaching just because of the nature of the environment. But from that gig, I ended up connecting with a man on the west side of Chicago Matthew Lynch, who had the School of Chicago Jesuit Academy. So I've been with them for 15 years. Literally, when they first kind of opened the doors, maybe a year after is when I got involved with them. I built a after school music program teaching any kid that wanted to learn how to play jazz, an instrument. You were with me, and we had like 4 kids. And then it grew to about 8. I left because I was finishing up another teaching job, and they came back. I was hired as a consultant to. I wrote up a job description, 3 to 5 year curriculum, or the curriculum, 3 to 5 year goal objective, and then they slid over the contract to me, and I was so I was responsible for building the program and kind of writing what I was going to be doing, and I took the job. And from that, I have mentored every graduating class out of there. I'm in my 15th year. In doing so, I went full time, and that allowed me to join their college persistence team. So now I handle alumni aged about 18 to 24, and I've got about 12 young men that I work with that I help life coaching with, man. And I take on anybody else on my life coaching, schedule. A lot of the music students that I taught wasn't just the music aspect of it. We talked about career. We talked about investment. We talked about financial stability. We talked about emotional stability. We talked about the meditation stuff that I do. Like, if you come to me to work on music, know that you're going to get more than just a trumpet lesson. You're going to get a life lesson. That's why my lessons went for 2 hours. And I would take students like once, maybe twice a month, because there's a lot of information we're digging into. And I want you to go home and work on that, and where's my journal? And take your journal on that, you know what I'm saying? And like put all that together. So what I'm
How
doing,
did you come up? Like I feel like you and I are very similar in like we've kind of built a life around trying to accomplish things, and you and I have a lot of good talks outside of this when we see each other. But for me, it strikes me that like I'm still learning that, and it was hard. I'm wondering, how did you kind of put all this together? Was that you? Who did someone teach you this? Because this is not, most people don't think and talk like that. And for me, it's enough of a struggle just to try and get it in my own life, but to be strong enough that you can start to impart it to others, it's a big deal.
I'm fearful every day. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna be very honest. And it's not like fear of living. I'm I live in a certain type of fear that I try to conquer that pushes me. It's a motivation. And it's the fear of not succeeding. Like I don't mind failure. Failure is where you learn. You know what I'm saying? And I would teach my students at my school, and I still do. I'm like, listen, if you flunk this test, great. It's going to show you what you don't know, and that's the stuff I want us to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like I could care less if you can pass the test. I want to know what you don't know so we can work on that. I think for me, man, I've been through so much in my life, and I don't want to get into too much of my personal life, but I went through a divorce, man. I went through bankruptcy. I made some really bad decisions along the way that you know required me to look at myself. And when I did that, I see 2 therapists. I love it. One's a hypnotherapist, another's my regular therapist. And I see each one every couple of weeks to space it out just so I don't get overindulged, right? I took a course called Landmark, which changed my life. My girl took all courses. I'm taking my advanced course in November. That really kicked my butt and forced me to really look at myself. And then when I got into Joe Dispenza meditation and the quantum physics of energy field and mind, man, that also was like a real nice push of saying, you know what? Okay, what is it that I really love doing? I started revisioning, imagining what I wanted my life to be at this turn at 42. And I realized I'm like, man, I'm really great at talking with folks. I love talking with people. I love listening to people. I love helping people brainstorm and figure out ways to get motivated to do what they say they love to do. It's frustrating with people and even myself too, because I'll give you an example. All right. When I tell my young people, let's put a vision board together, they're like, and then I'm like, but look at what you could do. And then they're like, oh. And then I say, well, we're going to goal set and set due dates. Now I started looking at, and my girl calls me out on this, and some of my friends that care about me will call me out too,
Yeah.
right? My support system, like my group of people that will tell me how it is. I love that. Don't sugarcoat it, right?
Yeah.
And so what that allowed me to do is I looked at myself and I said, wait a minute, I'm not following through on some of my own things. So case in point, I've never recorded my own music, um, my original stuff for many reasons. And I finally stepped through fear, put a goal there, put a due date. That thing was recorded a couple of weeks ago. You know, I shared that with you guys at
And
the
it
last
sounds
book club,
good.
Yeah,
and I'm
I know.
excited, and I'm super excited about that. But I think what, and to kind of really wrap up that, the answer to your question is that I stepped into realizing that I was a life coach because of the partner that I'm with too pushes me and says, "Man, look at what you do," And then I'm like, I'm not just reaching. I can't just work at my school and think I'm going to make effective change. Like I'm frustrated with my young black men. I really am because, and it's not their fault. I look at the fact that young black men in today's society, specifically in kind of the under-resourced neighborhoods, are not getting the same resources that everybody else is, and that's from education to family support, financial support, you name it, they're lacking, and so their decision making is survival. So
Yeah.
I look at I'm designing right now a curriculum that I call the Jabari Young Men's Society. It's already been taken care of. I do my thing. It's where it needs to be, and I designed this curriculum to basically help young people, young men aged 13 to 18, kind of get on track. And my goal with that particular project, as I'm starting to launch that, is that I reach as many men as young men as possible, especially young men of color, to kind of redirect the course of black male society today, man. Like I ask myself, what can I do? Well, that's the one thing I can't do. I'm too, we were talking about this in the last book club. I'm not. It's not that I'm against protesting and marching, but this old man, this middle aged man here, it's not my job. My job is to actually do this other thing.
Everyone has to find their leverage points, right?
Right,
And I think
exactly.
that
Right.
as you're talking about, there's two things that came to my mind. One
Mhm.
is that, I think I appreciate that you opened up about the idea of not um, always following through on your own things, because I think one thing that there's a tendency when people recognize that they need help, they look to people to be gurus or to be mentors, but there's a tendency to sort of like lionize them or put people on a pedestal. And the reality is everyone's struggling, everyone's afraid to fail, everyone's got that pressure. And then so and I think you just kind of said it, and that's what I was trying to get at, is that like I try to think about that too. What can I do to help people? I'm like, I don't have my own stuff together. And the reality is like, I do compared to a lot of people. It doesn't, just because I don't have it together where I want to be, doesn't mean one can't mentor other people to get to where you are now, because we tend not to see the forest for the trees on our own selves, right?
Yeah, man. It's funny. I was talking to Jay before you came on. I mean, there's a lot I'm doing. I'm working on a young men's society. I started my music production company, just LLC that. I started a record label to produce my own stuff and own my own publisher rights and everything. And then I'm taking my real estate classes next month to become a licensed real estate agent, because I'm jumping into learning the game of real estate investment, flipping, holds, rental properties.
You're
And
building
so
an empire, Marcus.
I'm like I'm working on enjoying life, bro. Like what I've learned in my time, and I lost some good friends along the way, that transitioned from this planet. One recently, my buddy Kari Parker, man, 46 years of age. I look at that man. I'm like, I'm 42. Like, you know, he lived a fruitful life. I know he loved life, and I want to continue to live that way until it's my time. You know what I'm saying? So when I see that kind of stuff happening around me, it gives me more of a sense of urgency of like, all right, stop BSing and go live. And like the fearful thing I'm working through right now is the actual purchasing of my first property. And I went today, drove into Cicero. I saw a place. I'm looking at. I'm like, I'm scared. There's no getting around it, man. The thing that I'm most scared about is really messing up. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, this is just like playing trumpet for me. It's like, all right, what's the piece of music or the music I got to get ready for a recording session? All right, what are the notes I need to take? Well, how do I prepare? So I'm taking everything that I've learned, from the music standpoint, that I'm really, really, I can do this in my sleep. I'm great at it. This is
Yeah.
what I do. But I'm going to take that skill set and how I got there and apply that to the other things I'm trying in life. I'm working on,
I
um,
mean, what's cool to me is like you like okay, so a like you don't have to be one thing, right? Like that's what's cool. That's what you and I have always kind of
yeah,
connected on is that like, oh, but I thought this was you. Like I'm not in a box, man. You know what I'm saying? So
hey,
that's I think that's cool. But also your approach to things is so because jazz music, for lack of a better word, is so like
Improvisational.
border defying, boundary defying, and like it so breaks what music is supposed to do and the right
yeah.
notes you're supposed to play, and that's in your DNA. So your approach to anything is going to be, you're going to be jazz when you buy a building, you're going to be jazz when you coach somebody. It's not going to be the way anyone else approaches it.
Yeah, I like how you put it like that too, because I look at it as the underlying number one factor to that style of music is being able to improvise. And so when I think about that, it stems out of slavery, it stems out of the field holler songs into blues. What were they doing? They were improvising their entire lives to just survive a whole new land and a whole new way of life, right? So for me, man, you know, I I don't like when I'm stagnant, and when I am, like the other day, my girl, we butted heads the other day. We don't normally butt heads a lot, honestly. We have a really awesome relationship, but she pushed me, and it hurt, and I was upset because I was upset at the delivery, but I was upset at myself because I wasn't actually moving forward like I thought I was. And it was the last couple of days I've been pushing a little harder, trying to get smarter about how I want to do things. And our business manager for the house did the same thing. He said something to me that really, like, during the meeting, I just shut down. And then when we got done, I was cussing him out for the, next 2 or 3 days. But then I went out and signed up for my real estate classes and some other things and got my record done. And when I came back to our next meeting, I even told him, I said, thanks for the motivation. Like, I'm that kind of person that when you push on me, like, I'm gonna come back swinging, and not physically, but it's like, all right, I'm gonna get this done because you didn't piss me off now, and I
Yeah, yeah.
want, and so it
I
not
think
only,
that's another way you and Jay are similar, actually. I feel like I could see something to him, and it's like I watch him get so mad, and then later, like a day later, he's like, "I took care of this, took care of this, did this," and I'm like, "Oh." And now I'm not saying like I have it too. I'm a sensitive guy, and I
yeah,
get that, but I feel like you both turn that sort of self criticism into action. It's awesome.
it is, man. I at the end of the day, man, like I want to be able to hand down to my daughter who's 10 and all the young men I get to work with and people too that, when I transition, they'll be like, man, this dude, he went hard. And he was a jerk at times, but man, he was loving and he also showed, what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want. And so in order to get that, I need to live correctly every day to the best of my ability, man. So,
Yeah,
that's pushing. It's constantly, I think for the first time in my life, I'm actually not afraid to step away and do something different. Uh, to be perfectly honest, I wear a lot of hats and things that I like to do. The trick is figuring out the budgeting time for it.
yeah.
Like I feel, I love being in this book club with you guys, but I also feel bad because I'm like, man, I don't dedicate enough time to like finish through these books the way I know I need to because I'm also doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm just
That
like,
wasn't the point of it, though.
I know,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I get it. But that's the cool thing about it too, because that group is dope. It's such a good mix of people,
Yeah.
like a walking very similar paths, man, and are really willing to be vulnerable with one another and listen and just be great human beings with, man. That's where it's at for me.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
agree.
I need
Can I just say,
go
speaking of
ahead.
time, we haven't done this at all. If you're just joined us somewhere in the middle, thank you for joining us. TQ, JQ, our man Marques Carroll, trumpeter, educator, life coach, entrepreneur, all around hustler of the highest order, as far as I'm concerned. Someone that I look up to and enjoy talking to. I know Jay and I both do. So Thank you for joining us. We're drinking some tea, talking about life, talking about being middle-aged
Marcus,
guys in this crazy city. Right?
Marcus, my family, like when I'll talk about like hanging, like oh, I was at book club, like oh, who's in your book club? I'm like well, Marcus, and my family, even like Greta's grandparents and stuff, are like, oh, is he? He was at your wedding, right? He played the trumpet, so you're like, you're famous in my family, um, because they've all come to see BMC.
Right, right,
All they all were at the wedding, so they've seen you play multiple bands.
right, right,
Um,
right.
and
Yeah.
so now this is my segue to ask you, will you blow a little for us?
Will I play a little something for you? All right, I'm gonna play. So, I wrote, I've written like over 30 tunes in the last 10 years. The bulk actually in the last couple of years, and the major bulk of this next couple of records that I'm about to put out within the last couple of months. And the one record I'm calling One Note at a Time, that's dedicated to my friends and my family that have inspired me, they inspired every piece that's on there. The other record I'm calling Ancestors Call Upon Us, which is music dedicated to American history, past and present. And the things that we're going through as people in this country. I think it was very relevant for me to kind of get my voice out on that. I'm finally using my music to do that because with no gigs, which I love. I actually really love it because it's forcing me to do this because I love doing it, not because I need to do it. And I fell into that trap as I was going through my 20s and 30s. Like, I got to get this gig. And it's like, no, I didn't pick up the trumpet to gig. I picked it up because I love doing it. So
Yeah.
I'll play this one tune that I wrote for my girlfriend that I call West Coast Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know I love you if I'm playing for you. That's just the melody of it.
Ooh.
Woo!
Y'all hear that?
I, that's first of all, it just makes me happy to hear you play. I think, and hearing anybody blow, it's like such a great thing. And right now I'm missing it so much to hear live music. So thank you for doing that.
Oh,
But
it's all
also just
good.
the West Coast woman thing, I feel like it had that nice cool vibe to it, cool breeziness to it that I
It
just,
reminded me, I got
Oh,
like the Roy Hargrove kind of vibe.
well, man, and I'm gonna tell you, man, Roy, I was never really close with Roy Hargrove. He passed away a year or so ago. But definitely a huge influence on my playing, my sound, my writing, my approach. Nicholas Payton is a really good friend of mine. I love him as just a human being and his music, and so a lot of those two guys, man, and artists have really influenced what I do. I'll play. You should be able to hear this, but I'll play a little if you want. I'll play you a little bit of the actual track so you can hear what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, please.
Can you hear this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a little taste.
Whew. Ah,
That's so we went in the studio. I literally had 21 songs I wanted to record. And I booked 3 days in the studio and I really did want to do it that way, but I was like, I need to get this done because if I don't, I'm going to sit on this and make another excuse of why I can't release my music because man, people are not going to dig it or the jazz critics are going to this and that. And I'm like, you know, I know it's a family show, so I'm gonna say I said screw it.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Okay.
literally just I booked the time. And this time is difficult too because the musicians that work with me, I wanted to make sure they felt safe, through the
Yeah, sure.
COVID. I went and checked out studios. My buddy Nick Broste engineered it. We went to college together, and it's not cheap neither, man. It was like basically I started a business, and my woman's business is paying me to actually write a theme song for her business. So I took those funds to actually fund this project, and and I got to get her project done. So it's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? But it
Yes.
was important to get it recorded, and I made sure that the musicians got paid pretty well for those days. I wish it was more, but I know every little bit helps everybody at this time. So it was like it was important to record to help the artists that work with me, the engineers, the
Yeah.
studios, and at the end of the day, man, I really feel like I put together a really good product that I think people are going to enjoy, and I'm gonna once this is out, we're releasing my other band, the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective, is releasing their second record. September 4th, the single comes out, and then we release October 30th. So, and Jay, I love the fact you got those vinyl back there because we're doing a small number of CDs, but everything else is vinyl, man. I made it up in my mind that anything that I do going forward, especially on my record label, is that we will do nothing but vinyl, because everybody's doing streams, and I'm going to figure out a way that we do a streaming platform that pays the artist way more than like a Spotify gives everybody almost a cent, 3 cents on the. It's highway robbery, and it's
Yeah.
like there's got to be other ways for us as artists to get paid. So I'm brainstorming that. Hopefully, I find some other people who are doing the same, so we can take care of ourselves instead of giving everybody
Yeah.
our money.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So,
You kind of touched on it. I'm sort of obsessed with economics and especially like how economics can be used to bring more equity and also just keep our society moving in the right direction. And
mhm,
you're talking about it, right? It's like people always, you have some people who get, when we're talking about like, let's give unemployment benefits to people, extend them, or let's find ways to help distribute money more equitably. They think of it as taking it away, but the way that society works is people have to have money to spend money. And every time that $1 changes hands, it affects, it's exponential. You put $1 out there and let it change hands. That's what creates it. That same dollar is going to work multiple times. So like we've got to get money out there. And so like I give you props in terms of whatever it is, you finding a way to take your project to put it in another project where you pay people, that you put it out and the other people can generate, it's like
And
that's
also
that's
like
the economic engine.
and
that's
also for like artists especially, like, how much how many times you've been asked, as a favor, do this as a favor, and like they're the people actually who need it the most. So even finding something to
mhm,
just show your appreciation, even though we're all artists and we're
yeah.
make a dollar out of 10 cents, you're still trying to, you
I
still
think it's
got to
trying to make
pass
a
it
dollar
on.
out of 15 cents.
Yes, right, 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 right. Well, I mean, what's
Don't
funny.
say the next line in that one.
What's funny, I mean, what stands out for me on that, Jay, is that it's like, you know, I've gotten calls from a lot of people and friends to do work pro bono, or they'll ask me, man, what's this? And I'm like, I'll put it this way: if I believe in the project, man, I'll work with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's with folks that are a little bit more established than me, I'm definitely going to work with you because I want to network and also get into that next level. If it's somebody who's young, who's just stepping out, man, I will work with that person to assure them, that support because I needed it when I was coming up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so but I don't like being taken advantage of. I don't like when cats are like, well, I got this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not the guy for you,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like I didn't have to pay my musicians to do this session. Now, because I know that they would have done it for free. I know they would have. If I was like, listen, guys, I can't afford this right now. Are you willing to rock? They would have said yes. But that I know for a fact that like they have already done a lot of blood, sweat, and tears with me over the years with doing gigs for less than we should have been getting paid. And when we did get paid, great. It was it was good. But I'm like, this is the kind of band I want to take care of because they
Yeah, yeah.
respect not only do they respect me, but they respect the music I'm creating, and they bring their voices to that table, and that's
Yeah.
important. You know
And
what I'm
it,
saying?
you're telling them, even if it's not what you would like to pay them, you're telling them that their gift has value and is worth something,
Big time,
and
bro.
reinforcing that message is important, you know?
Big time. And that's as a band leader, man. It's like being an owner of your own business, man. Like you are the one responsible for taking the hit. You're the one responsible for taking the loan out if need be. That's your job, your response. Now if you got folks that are co-creating and writing, that's another story because now you're in a business partnership. But for
Yeah.
me, my band is I'm the band leader, I'm the owner. I'm the owner of Marques Carroll Music Unlimited. That's me. So it stops with me, not that person that I'm hiring out.
Yeah.
But it's I enjoy what I'm doing, man. I'm really loving times like this. This is awesome. When Jay asked me about it, I was like, "What are we doing? We're drinking tea and talking cool." you know.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, man, it's like I did 4 shows for Andy's, something like this, and brought on musicians. And we were talking about, whatever, man, and playing. Each person got a chance to showcase what they were working on, and I think that's important. In a time where folks aren't physically in front of each other all the time, that staying connected this way is a really important thing to do, and it breaks up your day of
Yeah.
probably what else the job or the mini task at hand.
During this pandemic time, it's easy to, I think some people struggle with, they feel lost, and others struggle with, they can't stop just working, working, working. I'm definitely falling into the latter portion of that. So for me, the struggle has been it's one of the reasons I love tea time. It's like, yeah, you have got stuff to do, but just take a minute,
You're always
talk to
going to have stuff
people.
to do.
Yeah, I'm never not gonna. I realize that about myself, and that's my learning. It's like I'm never not gonna have stuff to do. So like, take the time with your kids, take the time with your brother, take the time with your friends, take the time to just enjoy some life, right?
It's my personal time. I have a personal time, and I'm not ashamed to say it. My personal time is early in the morning before even my woman gets up, and I take a hot Epsom salt bubble bath, bro. I'm on the real, like, and I have either my bigger pockets podcast rolling or my Joe Dispenza meditation tape rolling for an hour, and
Nice.
I'm not being bothered. Don't bother me. This is
Morning routine, man. Morning routine.
my personal time, bro.
Let's make sure, Greta, let's send Marcus a bubble bath from Merz.
Yeah.
He needs something like juniper from Knipe with like sore muscles and like, like
Listen, bro.
soak.
I'm not laughing, bro. I am not ashamed of saying it, man. It's like
Yeah.
self care is so important. It is the most important thing, and I think for me, the pandemic even really brought that out. It really brought out through rehabbing my back, through having to teach from home and understanding what that was all about, going into this new year of getting ready for online teaching, and then some however many businesses I'm trying to start right now. I'm like, I need some personal self care. And that's what I do every day. And then I make sure in the middle of the day, I take some time to just get away from the screen, go outside and sit on the patio, whatever it is. I like to drive. So, I went to Dalton, Cal City, Pullman area, uh, and another part of the city just to get out, but I was also house hunting.
Yeah.
So I was still kind of doing some work, but I was
But at
also,
least you're getting out and doing
yeah, I
something
was out
different.
and I was just listening to music and chilling, man. So I think that stuff's important, man. It really is. Self care. If you don't take care of yourself, man, nobody else is going to do it for you. That is the one thing you owe yourself. It looks different for everybody, but it's important.
That's
So,
that's a great note to leave on. Um, Marcus, thank you
it's
for joining us.
bro, it's
Yeah.
too short, man.
I know. I know.
So
We're
yeah,
gonna
no, I appreciate you guys, man.
Yes, same.
Like you have no idea. That group has. I think we went into the intentions with that book club to read, but at the same time, it was really funny to watch it navigate the way it has because we have grown uh, exponentially with one another, and
Yeah.
I would have not met your T here at all. All right, this always starts with you, Jay. Always, Al-
Yeah.
always. Hey, man.
I feel the same way. I'm very grateful for it.
Um, hey, so when you finish your tracks mixing them, you got to give us one, and we'll use it as our tea time theme.
I
So
will
we
be
can loop
more.
it up.
I would be more than happy to do that, man.
Cool.
I'm having a listening party with my family this weekend, and then my brother, he's and my girl are head of my like marketing publicist kind of team.
Yeah.
So they're going to do what they do. I'm learning. I'll leave you with this. The one thing I'm also learning is staying in my lane, and that has been really challenging for me to allow folks around me to do their job to help me. Like
Yeah.
I don't have the time and bandwidth to do certain things. So I'm like, you go do it. And I've got it, and I'm still learning to trust them to do it. And so I'm like,
You and I are like, you and I are soul mates in that sense.
bro, staying in my
I
lane.
have a hard time with that.
I'm working on it. So that's another thing I'll leave you with. I'm learning to stay in my
Cool,
lane.
cool.
Yeah.
And then
All right, Marcus.
when your family all listens to it and you figure out which one's like the hit, then you
Mhm.
send me stems and I give you a remix, okay?
What I'll do is when this is all done, I'll give you guys records number one, all right, access, and then you can let me know what you want to use, and we'll go
All
from
right,
there.
all right.
All
All right.
right.
Deal.
All
All right.
right.
All
Thank
right, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Much
Have a
love to
good
you all.
weekend. Be safe.
Look for Marcus Carroll on spin his record coming soon.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Marcus, what's the
get that one
website?
soon.
So we have. I'm part of a band called the Chicago Soul Jazz Collective. I co-lead that band. We have a website. If you find us there, our first record, Solo Phone, is out already. The next one, It Takes a Spark to Start a Fire, is coming out soon. My If you go to my webpage, marcuscarrollmusic.com, that's Marquess.
Yeah, we got that. We're gonna link it up.
Yeah,
I
if
see
you
it
link
all
that
here.
up on there, you will find my record from the Trumpet Summit that we released. It's out digitally. You can purchase it there. Um, or if you want to buy it straight from me, just hit me up. But my records, my original stuff probably won't be out until the next 2 or 3 months because I'm still mixing, mastering, producing, but it's coming. So
Yeah.
Cool.
when it happens,
We'll pub it when it comes out. You just let us know.
I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Peace, y'all.
Thanks now.
Much love, everybody.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Marcus.
Have
See
a
ya.
good